Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD Bodybuilder, back with another video. Today I'm going to be giving you a full beginner push-pull legs hypertrophy program. Push-pull legs is one of the most popular splits in bodybuilding, so it's worth a try at some point if you're just getting started. In a push-pull leg split, you divide up your training across the week into push days, pull days, and leg days. On push days, you train your pushing muscles, so your chest, shoulders, and triceps. And on your pulling days, you train your pulling movements, which includes your back and your biceps. And on leg days, you train your quads, hamstrings, and calves. All right, quick outline for today. I'm gonna be giving you a full 6 days per week, low volume push-pull legs program, which is going to be very well suited for a beginner bodybuilder. Starting off, we'll jump right into a program walkthrough, where I'll explain the entire program and how I set it up. Then we'll move on to our weekly setup, so how to organize the days throughout the week. And then we'll talk about the pros and cons of the push-pull leg split in general. Lastly, I'll offer you some modifications that you can make to the program as you progress in experience. If you've been enjoying my content, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get into it.
All right, guys, let's go through our program walkthrough. So here's an overview of the program. I've laid these out just in terms of push days, pull days, and leg days, just for organization's sake. We'll talk about the actual ordering of the days later. You've got your push day number 1, push day number 2, pull day number 1, pull day number 2, leg day number 1, and leg day number 2. You got your sets and reps here. And down at the bottom, I have the total number of sets per workout, so you have an idea of how long each workout lasts. Then here I've got my muscle groups and sets per week. It's really helpful to get into the habit of tracking your weekly sets for each muscle group, because it will help you to guide program changes and really figure out the optimal amount of volume you need to progress. I like to count volume in terms of quads, hamstrings, and glutes, which I count together, chest, back, side delts, biceps, triceps, and calves. You'll see that this is a low volume program as laid out, which is going to be well suited for beginners. Okay, starting off with push day number 1. We start off with chest work, so barbell bench press, 3 sets of 5 to 8, incline dumbbell bench press, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Then we've got some tricep work, so skull crushers, 3 sets of 8 to 12, and press downs, 2 sets of 8 to 12. Lastly, we have some work for the side delts, so dumbbell raises, 5 sets of 8 to 12. Now let's move on to our second push day. We start off with a barbell overhead press, 3 sets of 5 to 8. Then we've got dumbbell bench press for the chest, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Close grip bench press, 3 sets of 8 to 12, which I count for both triceps and chest. And then cable press downs again, 2 sets of 12 to 15. You'll notice that if I repeat the same exercise twice in the week, I will switch up the rep ranges. Lastly, we wrap up push day number 2 with upright rows for side delts, 5 sets of 10 to 15. You'll see that on one push day, I like to start with a horizontal press, and on the other push day, I like to start with an overhead press. This allows you to give you some priority to your overhead pressing as well, if you do have strength goals. Next, let's talk about our pull days. So on our first pull day, we'll have weighted chin-ups for the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10, and then single arm dumbbell rows for the back, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Then we've got some bicep training, so barbell curls, 3 sets of 6 to 10, and incline curls, 2 sets of 8 to 12. Lastly, we finish off with some ab training, so weighted crunches, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Moving on to our second pull day, we start off with some back training, barbell rows, 3 sets of 6 to 10, and then lat pull downs, 3 sets of 8 to 12. You'll see that I start off one day with a vertical pull and then the other day with a horizontal pull, and then I alternate between the two. I think this is the best way to distribute fatigue and get the most out of your movements. Then we've got some bicep training, hammer curls, 3 sets of 8 to 12, and then preacher curls, 2 sets of 10 to 15. Lastly, we've got hanging leg raises for the abs, 3 sets of 10 to 15. You'll see that I always try to start off my workouts with the biggest, toughest movement first, and then move down towards easier movements. I think this is the best approach for beginners because you really want to give priority to your big movements and make sure that you're getting the most out of them. Moving on to our leg training. Starting off with leg day number 1, we have squats for the quads, 3 sets of 5 to 8. Then we have Romanian deadlifts for the glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets of 6 to 10. And then leg presses back for the quads, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And then lunges, which I count for glutes and hamstrings, 2 sets of 8 to 12. Lastly, we finish off with some calf work, so standing calf raises, 4 sets of 8 to 12. Moving on to our second leg day, we start off with deadlifts for the hamstrings and glutes, 2 sets of 5 to 8, and these are your working sets. Then front squats, 3 sets of 6 to 10 for the quads, And then we've got some isolation work. So leg extensions for the quads, 3 sets of 10 to 15, and leg curls for the hamstrings, 3 sets of 10 to 15. We finish off again with some calf raises, which I'd suggest trying a machine or some different variation, 4 sets of 10 to 15. You'll see that on day 1, we're biased a little bit more towards lower reps, and on day 2, we're biased a little bit more towards higher reps. This is a variation of what they call daily undulating periodization, or DUP. This makes training more interesting, but might also have application in spreading out your fatigue better and possibly in strength development. Now zooming out, you'll see that this program is well suited to build your workouts around the 6 main movements in bodybuilding. That is horizontal push, vertical pull, horizontal pull, squat, and hip hinge. It will also lend itself well into plugging in some beginner strength type programming. So if you have strength goals or a program you want to follow with your squat, bench, and deadlift, it'll be easy to program those in a plug and play fashion. Now notice that this is a pretty low volume program, which is well suited for beginners, but it does serve as a nice scaffold for you to add in sets as you need.
Okay, let's talk about how to set up the push-pull leg split across the week. Push-pull legs works best training 6 days per week, because that makes sure you get in your twice per week frequency. My current recommendation is that you try to train each muscle group at least twice per week. The main reason for this is that it helps you get more productive volume in. If you split up your sets across the week, you'll be more fresh for each set and you'll end up performing better overall. This doesn't matter as much as a beginner when training volume is low, but I still do recommend that beginners train every muscle group twice per week because it gives you that practice with targeting your muscle groups and developing that mind-muscle connection. Now, I like to order your workouts as legs push-pull, and then rest. I like to do this because legs are usually your toughest day in a push-pull leg split. So it's nice to be able to start off with your toughest day. Plus, in the middle of the week, when you have this switchover, if you have a leg day before an upper body day, you're likely to be fatigued for your upper body day the next day, and you may not perform as well. But this doesn't happen as much the other way around. This interaction happens more between pull and leg workouts. Now let's talk about the pros of the push-pull leg split. First of all, push-pull legs is nice because it has a built-in twice per week frequency. As I said, you really want to aim to be training each muscle group at least twice per week for optimal hypertrophy. Next, it follows that if you're training every muscle group twice per week on push-pull legs, you'll be training 6 days per week. So it's very convenient if you like to train 6 days per week. Beyond that, push-pull legs is well suited for an upper body focus. If you look at the distribution of days, you've got 2 upper body days for every lower body day. So it's easy to spread out more volume for your upper body. Lastly, push-pull legs works well with strength training. As you saw earlier, it's really easy to spread out your major movements and program in some heavy training if you want. Alright, now that we've talked about the advantages of the push-pull leg split, let's talk about its disadvantages. First of all, 6 days per week is a lot for beginners. I personally don't think it's necessary for beginners to be in the gym that often. For most people who are absolute beginners and just starting the gym, I usually recommend starting off with 3 or 4 days. And to get that twice per week frequency, that usually means a full body split or an upper-lower split. Now, the other issue with push-pull legs is that it's not very flexible. If you have to train 6 days per week in the gym, you don't really have room to miss a day. And it isn't very easy to shuffle around workouts throughout the week. Another disadvantage of push-pull legs is that your days may be uneven in terms of timing and fatigue. Splitting your training into push, pull, and leg days means that your leg days are going to be significantly harder than your other workouts. The way I set up the split I showed you is pretty symmetrical, but as you add in more sets, people will find that their leg days get very long or that their push days get very long. And in general, you usually want to be spreading out your training stress evenly throughout the week. Lastly, with push-pull legs, your biceps, triceps, and delts may get fatigued at the end of their respective days. For example, on pull days, your back movements are going to involve your biceps. And especially if you're doing a lot of sets for back, your biceps will be fatigued by the time you get to them at the end of the workout. The same will happen for triceps and delts after your pushing movements. Note, however, that this won't be so much of an issue for a beginner who's training with low volumes. As you added more sets, this might become an issue. A quick word about legs push, pull, rest. A lot of people like to set up their training in a 4-day cycle where they do legs, push, pull, and then rest day, and then repeat. However, as you progress, my current recommendation is twice per week for every muscle group. So I would try to move towards that. Alright, now let's talk about some modifications you can make to this split as you progress. As you find your progress slowing down with this program, the first major change you're going to want to make is to add in more sets. Now, the relationship between volume and hypertrophy is an inverted U-shaped curve. and you really want to find that ideal point of volume to allow you to progress each muscle group. The ideal number of sets will change as you become more advanced. So when you stall, you want to experiment with different numbers of sets. Next, as you added more sets and you find that your days become uneven, or if you find that your small muscle groups get fatigued by the end of their respective days, then you could try to move small muscle groups around. Small muscle groups like your biceps, triceps, side delts, calves, and abs are usually pretty flexible on which days you put them on. My favorite modification to make is to take some of your bicep or your side delt training and move it onto your leg days. And you can swap this for your calf work on your leg days onto your upper body days. You can see how I do this in my more advanced push-pull legs program. This way you'll be able to train these muscle groups when they're fresh and really optimize your gains from those sets. Now I will be uploading the Excel file with this full program in my Facebook group. So go and join the Facebook group and you can download the program for free. That's all for now, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like the video and leave me a comment below. I'm really good about answering every single one of my comments, so you'll definitely hear back from me. If you want to learn how to modify your own program and run it over time for the optimal results in terms of hypertrophy, check out my book, where I walk you through multiple different programs, explain how to modify them and how to run them over time. If you haven't already, subscribe and we'll see you next time.